What is up, everyone? Welcome to Yours Avenue. I am hot as hell. It's super hot in the Bay Area right now. It's like 100 degrees in my house, and I'm trying to not sweat as much while I'm recording this video. But today we're going to be talking about comic book cinematic universes and if they are necessary to have. And this is sparked from this article that I found online from We Got It Covered, you know, the best website ever. So We Got It Covered is a media website that pumps out, you know, they focus on, you know, comic book and games and movie news. And recently they've been pumping a lot of rumors that other you know, media outlets aren't reporting. And this or last week We Got It Covered, they're saying that they have a source that's telling them that DCEU is focusing on two separate universes right now, and they're gonna eventually, you know, unite them once things start to get better. Maybe like with the Flashpoint, you know, storyline or something like that. And I mean, this sounds pretty practical. I mean, this sounds like something that DC would do in the future. But I did think of a really good topic to talk about, and that is, does every comic book movie have to have a cinematic universe? You know, there are other comic book movies that are out, not just DC and Marvel, not the big two. You know, you got Kick-Ass, you got Hellboy, you got Secret Service or Kingsman. You got all these other, you know, comic book franchises, and a lot of them they talk about doing multiple films, and sometimes they talk about spin-offs just to build a cinematic universe. Is it necessary to have? Because right now DC, they are focusing on, you know, pumping out just standalone movies, something that is not connected to anything. You know, they are talking about doing a, you know, as of right now, they're making a Joker movie that has nothing to do with what's happening in the DCEU, you know, that Zack Snyder built. And then they're gonna have a, you know, this Supergirl movie that supposedly has nothing to do with Man of Steel and what Henry Cavill has built. And so I'm wondering to you guys, does a comic book movie have to have a universe? Can it still work? Can it still be successful? And my answer is no, it doesn't need a cinematic universe. It doesn't need it. I mean, Christopher Nolan, he proven, you know, to everyone that he can make a standalone, you know, trilogy Batman movie, and, you know, it could be a success. And then maybe just a few years later, we could see Batman again, and people still won't be confused with the Ben Affleck version. So I think right now is a difficult time for fans, just because, you know, we're hearing, you know, so-and-so's getting recasted, so-and-so movie is gonna come out and has nothing to do with this previous character. I think a lot of us fans, it sucks for us because we are invested in this world. And some of you might say that, you know, it does need a cinematic universe because people need to feel invested in these characters, you know, or it's a good way to introduce a new character that people don't know. And for me, I'd say, you know, that's true. People love feeling invested, but you can still get invested from just straight up from a movie, just a standalone movie. I mean, all these other movies all these unique original movies that we've seen in the past that are outside of the comic book realm, people get invested in it. You know, that's why John Wick is so successful, because people are so invested in this character, you know, and just want to see it fully, you know, fleshed out. And so, I don't think we need a cinematic universe for every comic book movie. Yes, it sucks for us comic book fans, but it, you know, for a general audience, I don't think they really care. And a lot of you might say, yeah, oh, they might get confused because there's two Batmans. No, I think people are smart enough to know that, you know, Ben Affleck Batman is different from Robert Pattinson Batman. I think even if it's like confusing at first, they would just get over it like really quick. So I don't think it's that big of an issue for the general audience to see or to, you know, hear that they're gonna make another, you know, Superman movie that doesn't have Henry Cavill. You know, a lot of people are still, you know, people eat up all the Spider-Mans that they've seen, you know, especially with, like, you know, Spider-Man Homecoming and Amazing Spider-Man 2. There was no confusion there at all. People still watched, you know, Homecoming, and they still saw Civil War, and they saw Tom Holland play as Spider-Man, and no one was confused. And plus, they did it back in the 90s. You know, cinematic universes was never a thing. And I think people understood it back then, and people can still understand it now. I mean, look at all the Joel Schumacher movies, right? We had a different Batman every time. And people still, you know, followed it. People, even though that was a continuation story, people weren't confused by all the different actors that were playing Batman. I think it was just the fans that are kind of butthurt. And it's hard to swallow for us fans because I mean, we want to follow something. We want to see, a comic book adaptation from, from the paper to the big screen. And if they do go this route of just making standalone movies, I mean, it's gonna be okay as long as the story is good, as long as the writing is good. You could still make a successful movie. And there's no need to make spin-offs, right? Just make a trilogy movie or keep on making continuations, and people will still go to the movies as long as it's good. And I think a good story has always been key to like any movie or any TV show. And the story will definitely carry its way all the way through. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this. Does any comic book movie need to have a cinematic universe tied to it? Let me know in the comments below. Like this video and be nice in the comments. All right, guys. See you again.